Hello everybody. In the last lecture we have seen about the cluster sampling, multi-stage sampling, and now these are some types of random sampling. So while random sampling is one of the good method of selecting the sample without any bias. So this is also called as unbiased sampling, also probability sampling, also, or this is essential because if we select the sample uh, with some previous or with some uh, personal purpose in that, so the sample will not be a true representative of the population, and the inferences drawn by such a sample is not good for further study. Then uh, this is the these are some types of, because sometimes only selection of sample randomly is not good. So for that we have classified, or we have seen some types of that sample. In that, first is the simple random sample, then stratified random sample, systematic random sample, cluster sample, and multi-stage sample. So from stratified sample, these accepting these two methods are quite these two methods are showing similarities to the stratified random sample. But here what happened in case of cluster and multi-stage sampling, the size of sample is too much large than the stratified random also. So we have to divide them into the cluster and study them as a cluster. And in multi-stage sampling we does a study of that cluster like this. In systematic sampling, it is applied when the population is too large. So to avoid any discrimination or any biasness, so we have to apply some systematic means we have to apply some strategy to select the sample randomly. So these are some types of 5 types of random sampling method. Okay, there is another type of method selection of there is another type of sampling method, which is called as non-random sampling. In a non-random sampling, what is meant by non-random sampling? Non-random sampling means the sample is not selected randomly. Means the sample is selected by the biased purpose. Hence, this type of sampling is also called as biased sampling. In this type, samples are drawn without following any specific procedure or any yardstick. The sample collected does not show any specific approach, nor the sample can be used to assess properly the accuracy of the estimates. In this sampling procedure, many investigator biases are likely to occur. The non-random sampling are of 3 types: convenience sampling, purposive sampling, quota sampling. So the name itself representative how they are collected. Let us see convenience sampling. This is known as accidental accessibility or haphazard sampling. The major reason is administrative convenience. The sample is chosen with ease of access being sole concern. Sometimes what happens, we have to show the result, we have to show a particular type of result that we want, that we expect. So for that, what we do, we collect the sample as our convenience, so that the result of the or the inference of the sample will be like that as we expect from that. Okay, so sometimes the selection of sample is manipulated or in a haphazard, means careless nature of selecting the sample. No any criteria, no any systematics, no any cluster there, just that samples are only selected for the expected result. Some this type of sampling is usually done in case of in case of administrative cases. Then purposive or biased sampling. So in this type of sampling, there is a means this type of sampling is used to select with the means somewhat by keeping a particular purpose in mind, like this. So this is also known as judgmental sampling. This experimental exercises deliberate subjective choice in drawing the representative sample. The judgmental sampling aims at elimination of anticipate sources of distortion, but there will always remain the risk of distortion due to personal prejudices or lack of knowledge of certain crucial features in structure of population. In biased or purposive selection, all units of the defined population are not represented in the biased sample, or we can see that the biased sample is not true representative of the population. So here this non-random sampling types are totally opposite to the random sampling. In what is the first objective of behind the selection of random sampling? Each and every individual has an equal chance of being selected as a sample without any discrimination or deliberate purpose. But here what happened, the sample is selected by keeping a certain purpose in mind. So I have to, so for example, I have to show I want to show that the result of the TYBSc class or the study of the TYBSc students is not so good. Miss there the result, for example, I have taken 50 different types of tests. Some are MCQ, some are short answer types, some are oral, some assignments. So from that, for example, I have taken 50 different types of tests, and there for example, the number of students are 100. Okay, so I want to show that the result is not so good. For that, what will I do? I have selected 20 students randomly from that 100 students, and because there is some judgment or some deliberate purpose in my mind that I want to show bad uh, let me clear, personally I will not do that. So I'm just giving you example how the purposive sampling will affect. So the result of purposive sampling is totally depend upon the observer or that examiner, so who is doing that. So it is depend on that examiner. So I for showing that bad results of TYBSc students, what should I do? I have selected, I have purposely selected those students marks list who have minimum marks in each and every test. Okay, so by this method, I have clearly I have clear that the result of all 100 students is bad. Okay, because of that 20 purposive or biased sampling method. Now you clear? Okay, here is one example. A fish breeder wants to show that the fishes growing in all the ponds in the village are all disease free and healthy. He will collect the sample from ponds in which fishes are healthy. This shows biased sampling. In many cases, people are used this type of examples. Okay, the last type of non-random sampling is quota sampling. This combines with convenience and judgmental and is more structured. Either of the two quotas needs a proper statistical design to determine what numbers are needed in each of the quota. Quota sampling is utilized in USA. In this method, the investigator is given instruction about certain characteristics such as age, sex, socio-economic status of the subject to be selected. The proportion in various groups being chosen should agree with the corresponding proportion in the population. It is possible to this method to have serious discrepancies between the sample and population. So, quota sampling is a combination of convenience and judgmental. That is we also called as purposive sampling. So, the sample is collected by our convenience and by our own judgment. So, everywhere and everything is done by our side. So sometimes means most of the time these type means these non-random types so non-random sampling method is not good, because if it is not representing that particular population, so there is no use of such a, but these practices are most of the time these practices are carried out by certain agencies and by certain, because they have to take benefits of certain things. So we should not go into that details, but these types of sampling also carried out to show the expected results, and that's why we call them as a non-random sampling methods like this. Okay, this is all about the chapter number 2, sample and sampling. So we have already completed our first chapter, introduction to biostatistics, and this is our second chapter. We have finished here, sample and sampling. In the third chapter, we will see about the graphical representation. So these slides you can also use it as your notes. You can also refer some books, Fundamentals of Biostatistics, which is written by Veer Balarastogi. It is also a good book, and my suggestion to you that take a notes. So for after writing it again and again, you can well understood about this. Okay, so this is all about the chapter number 2. Thank you.